Good morning, everyone. It's Jen from Mind's Eye, and we're going to do a deep dive today and a look in about Abraham Lincoln. And this is part two, and this is stemming off of something that we saw on Saturday's live psychic reading. That's a just open discussion on how it all has come through when it went to Ford's Theater, on how there was some sort of a ritual prior somewhere else in the world, and how he had come about a tree. You have to excuse me, it's first thing in the morning. I'm a little hoarse and a little raspy, but basically there was something to be had because it was still in conjunction with what we had said on last week's show about the look into the unknown, about the obscurity, and it had to do with this golden egg that keeps coming out, and it keeps having to do with the pentacle that keeps coming out also. So, what does he want us to know at this point? So let's go straight into the Rider White deck. Okay, so as he showed us at his memorial, and then he showed us the George Washington Memorial and the reflection pool, and then you see all of the monuments actually come through, all the way through, in a way that it's so smooth with what is set in stone, that you will look at the museums of natural history and everything else, that you look at Ford's Theater, and it was already known. NOWN, they're showing me in mediumship, but they're also saying NOAN, which is like a curse. It's like what they used to call rose-colored glasses. It's really not formidable, but it really is something of sound. They really can see sound, and it's usually after injury, but sometimes it's after personal choice. So let's look at the deck. So in mediumship, God bless his wife, Abraham Lincoln. Her habits hadn't changed in that morning whatsoever. And that was something highly looked at every day, was the habits of the women. If it had changed, if she knew it was impedance, she would have actually kicked it up nasty. So what they're showing me, that there was contentment, there was happiness that day that he was assassinated. So by law, I would have to say no, but he said, no, I was assassinated that day. So when I look at this and I say the Knight of Wands, we had to say, what was this conspiracy theory on how Abraham Lincoln is so much like JFK? And we're having these classes of JFK, of RFK, and MLK. And it was something about them being profound. Now with that, what we're seeing is that this was not something looked at or remembered. It really was a struggle, like a hard struggle, where this 10 of Pentacles comes in, and it had a lot of securement. I'm seeing them as post-presidency. They would be fine monetarily, like securement on their property, almost looking there. He's showing me a little bit an energy about Monticello. So when I see this also, I have to say there was something about it. It was not foreseen nor on horizon, because when you look at this card, this man is holding his staff, not his rod. His rod, it would be short. A rod is usually done with a certain type of wood. If you go through magician's school, usually it's family teaching you how to do it properly when your gifts come out, and your rod is usually a wood. So when I actually look at this, he held nothing on the horizon, which would be odd as a president. But there was this hypervigilance. This was this looking around. There was this lockdown. When I see this and I see the Lover's card actually come out, and it really doesn't have to do anything with censorship, even with the way that card is. You have to look at it and say that it has this like coming together. That's what the Lover's card is truly alluding to. With wishes, the star, she's literally pouring cup into the water, into the pond. And she's trying to water the grass, but she's actually putting back into the pond. So when I see this and I say, this Six of Wands comes in, and it was like a retract and a retreat back, that you couldn't even see it hard enough. So when I actually look at it, and I have to say it was nasty, this type of celebration that came through, that you couldn't even do it at all. Couldn't even do it at all. This Five of Cups in reverse means something was done. Something was done that alleviated a loss. That's how you know you hit obscurity in a psychic reading. It becomes like a roundabout conversation where you can't get it out and you look like a fool. So when you see this and you see strength, you have to say there's weakness about this. And I said there was something of an unlocking of a year, and it started to flood through, and it closed itself off. Let's look at Black Obsidian runes. Let's see if that will come out. When I actually look at this, you have to say the collection and the gather together was good, and it had to do with a heritage and a state. But in reality, you couldn't even see it or sting it at this type of trolling whatsoever. When I see this type of power and it comes in balanced, that you can't even freeze it to the highest of a ley line, to a ley line low. So when I actually look at this and I say, this wheel of luck comes in on a turn, it comes in so smooth to be a ray. So right now we're just chiseling at the blocks to see on what was true. But when I actually try to put my finger down saying now, it says no, not now, not to release. That is how hard that lockup is, and whatever energy and whatever they did that we're seeing as psychic mediumship has done. So that's why it gets really, really hard, really, really hard. We do this as part of strength, but we couldn't even do. So when we actually say it and we go, no, who is a do of a boo of a loo, it means where are we going to go do our fingerprints? Because they're going to go crazy. Hidden game. And we go. Let's try to do a little bit of a move of an energy. It comes through as like a dune, like a beach of a sand that came in through of a boo, B-O-U, to the bayou, to the willow tree that he saw, of a cut through to agriculture, to the sand where it was swamp muck water. And when he saw the sand muck water, Abraham Lincoln, you couldn't through it. So they would be used to this. Like we said with Betsy Ross and Paul Revere and all of it, they were throwing energy like crazy, talking to each other through, on and all, on a be it all. And they said, how could they communicate? They were in two different ways. It was breaking through. That is an old sign of breaking through. All right, let's go to the Peach Moonstone runes. All right, here we go. All right. Trolling. Again, this is Charas. So when I see this with Abraham Lincoln and I see the rune Charas, it comes as a rem of a form of a deal that's kind of a silver and gold that came through. So when I look at it and they're showing me the candles again, reveal again, the candles were a gold, they were a red, they were multiple things. This energy doesn't even want me to say it right now what candles they used. But basically, we talked about it. And you say, that is how nasty it came through. It had to do with a type of ashing with a wood. And when you look at it, it had wealth. And when you looked at it, it froze. And when you saw it, you actually got ulcers. It was nasty. It's very similar to hoodoo, voodoo, juju. And when you say it, what they would do to you. And when I said recently how it went to New Orleans to the two miners in South Carolina, I'm saying, why do I need to carry a jar of dirt with me? And it wasn't being facetious. It means it's already been caught, that energy. So when I look at it and containment was broken, what would they put in their well? Now, anyone who grew up in the 90s would understand well dwell to the bell of the cell to get a gelding. And it was so derogatory about Tupac and Biggie that it did cause war with the colors and all of it, because it meant a recruitment through and through. So that is why it got heinous. And when we're looking at current day, this is something that he would have been looking at as far as Abraham Lincoln. So I'm just asking what he saw with that willow tree. He saw everything. GOST, but GONST. Today it would have been a DEA nightmare. It was a type of elixir that they were drinking. It was very, very similar to what was happening with the Hatfields and McCoys, as we call it. Now, when I look at this, and I have to say, again, this wheel of luck, where does the luck actually truly come? It comes through of your natural energy on how to perform. So when I look at it and I say, at night, you couldn't even do it. So when we have to be, absolutely creative on how to do a do, you have to say this hidden game was a type of trolling, all forms of the meaning. When you go in, you collect. So when you actually look at it and you say this prayer is true, you have to say, where is this contentment order? Now, as we did more of a roundabout, that's what it's like when you're trying to unlock something. And don't worry, I am a professional at this. I know when to stop it. So when I look at this and I say, I'm feeling it, it's time to stop, it is true. Usually you're going to see something different in my face. So let's actually go back again a little bit more about the night of the assassination. I'm seeing the horse, I'm seeing the write-in, I'm seeing the conversation, I'm seeing how it is a sit-in. It is very much about John Wilkes Booth, and then I'm seeing Lee Harvey Oswald, but I'm saying, why is this energy that he didn't do it? Why didn't he do it? That's all you need to know. So when we actually look at it and it's so nasty that you have to say some might actually be under the bus. And that is an old term in magician of being under the bus, that there was something breaking out of Ford's theater of energy, just dislodgement, a change of wind of anything. Doesn't have to mean someone unlocked it. It meant it was just like loose debris. It was time to get out. It was time to get out. It had a lot of power because it was caught in quite a few areas. So let's sit here a little longer. Try to control it a little bit longer. That's all I keep hearing. Those were the conversations in mediumship. Usually, like I had said, it comes upon me very unbeknownst, and I just start acting how it was back then. Hold it, hold it, hold it. It's so similar. If anyone's been in law enforcement and military, hold it, hold it, hold it. And then it goes through to be due. So when you actually look at it and you have to say what was true and what was not, that is how it is. Now, when you go back down to as it was, like what we talk about with witchcraft, occulty, and then conspiracy theory, anything paranormal, he's showing me paranormal was alien-like, and it was odd, like clicks around you, like popping, like a popping noise, fireflies, and then like kind of like an odd move of like you want to itch. Righto, when you see it, it really was a like a chariot ride that came in through. So when I look at it and I say it was true, this defense, when I'm actually looking at it, they use bamboo instead of something else. And that is why it's like thick on. They didn't even do it correctly. If they had done a ritual, as we are seeing as a psychic medium with Abraham Lincoln and John Wilkes Booth, they would have actually did something wrong. So if they use reed and they use something else, they use chemistry wrong in physics, up to mathematical error. Okay, let's actually look at the Literary Witches Oracle. All right, with this split of the deck, identity, this chicken, lore, folklore. Again, folklore to the pond. The pond has the type of energy. That's what this card is meeting right now. When you see this, you can't even do it hard enough. Can't even do it hard enough. To the highest degree of none. Grotesque humor has to do with something that we were seeing when it came to gelding with the Salem witch trials. Highly racketeering game. Even to this day, it's called low ball to blue ball. Glove actually is, and let me remind you that racketeering is a federal offense. And it is a federal offense because it gambles on innocent people's lives, unbeknownst to them. And a lot of times they will use a type of obscurity on their victim. So when I see this untamed venture with this like offer that came towards Abraham Lincoln, it was right in the back of his mind, in the subconscious. So when I see hedgehog, you can't even believe how hard it is to contain. Hard to contain. You can't even live it out. Hard. So hedgehog, this one is a little bit hard. Let me tap. They used to call it a liking. Volcano, This one was a little bit harder. It had everything. It had to do with adults. It had to do with animals. It had to do with everything about even up to children and the elderly. So when I see this, it was like it was about freedom. It was about the Underground Railroad. It was about route. It was about where it was to where you can't understand how they were so well connected about Harriet Tubman, about Betsy Ross, about Clara Barton, about Paul Revere, how it all like a pinball machine. And I'm seeing the actual band actually look at it and saying, where did this come from? Where did it come from? So this was fate. You just don't see it coming. They just decide it. It's nothing written in prophecy. And then it happens. When I see this beast, it's like a collection through of a getting together. And it has to do with solitude prior to what was going on in the South. But I'm seeing the panhandle. So when I'm seeing family with panhandle, you can't even believe how hard that was. When I see tree dough, it is in this picture a little bit harder and haunting, but it can. I see a lot of arguments. This can't. So when I actually go through it and I do a hard through and through, you can't be it all at all. This what type of marriage would happen at night, almost like William Wallace, and it still would have been happening if they had found it. It would have been heinous rain, and it's called prima noctra, which means first night. So we're gonna end at that. There's definitely probably a part 3 and a part 4 about Abraham Lincoln on how this is starting to come through and chisel through. But with that being said, any likes, comments, shares, please go forward on it, and we will talk to you soon. Have a good day, everyone. We'll talk to you later.